Alright everybody, we're moving on to our second problem here, and we're going to use a pivot table to try and solve this problem. Susie Q thinks that women are being paid less than men at Walmart in the accounting department. So what do we need to find out if this allegation is true? What kind of data sets do you think that we would need? So why don't you take a minute, talk to your group mates about what you would need and what kind of data you would like to have. Hi. So it's also important to note in this example, we are assuming that all males and all females in the accounting department and all their departments themselves are doing the same job, they're the same experience level. So don't think about some of the legal issues just yet. But we want you to see if you can figure out if the values for the average male and the female salaries in the accounting and how can you use that in a pivot table. What are you going to be able to find? What other things would you like to pursue if you can have a large range of data so that you can be able to come back and say, Suzy Q, this is the data that we have and this is our analysis of it. Okay. All right, here is our data set that we have for our job that we're trying to find, make sure that Suzy Q is either right or that we need to investigate some more in the accounting debacle at Walmart. So we have the employee number, the name, gender, age, and so on, and we want to make a pivot table in order to quickly find out and identify areas that we might want to investigate for the mysterious problem of pay differential. All right, so now I've selected all of the entire table and all the data in here. You might notice that some of the age and the start dates don't quite match up or the salaries don't quite make sense, but for this intents and purposes that we're just going through and we made raw fictional data, so don't worry about that too much, but it's going to still work. So we've selected everything that we need. We're going to go back up here to insert. We're going to go to make a pivot table. And since I've selected the table once again, it comes in here. And I again am going to go ahead and put it in the existing worksheet so that you guys can look at the data itself and see what's going on when I make the pivot table. So the pivot table shows up and it's blank right now, just like it was before. And we're going to go ahead and put salaries as one of our big values. Going to click and drag it all the way down to values. And now we have the sum of the salary of everybody that's going to be in here. But one of the things that we wanted to know is in accounting especially, so department is something that we really want to make sure that we have. And so now we have accounting in the salary. So, but that's great and everything, but it gives everybody's account and everybody's accounting salary. So we wanted to find out if there's a gender gap issue, and so we're going to bring gender down to columns, and now we have the entire total for females and males. So we can add that up right now, and we could individually count for them, but that would be something that would be an arduous task. It would take a lot of time. All right, and what we wanted to find out was whether females and males were comparatively roughly the same. That's what we're going in with a hypothesis. So we want to go down here, and as we have right now, the default setting is the sum of the salary, and we can sort of change that. And so what I want to do is click on it once, so left click, and then you can go up to value field settings. It's going to bring up another window, and so right now it says sum, and you can change these, and you can find out the count, you can find out the average, the min, max, and a lot of other things down here. So if you have a special need for something specific about each one of these categories, you can go through it. And what we're going to do though is average, since we're going to figure out, well, there's about 20 females and 10 males in each or in the accounting department. So the average will give us a better look about whether or not males and females are paid roughly the same. And so now the pivot table is completely changed, and it's changed for every single department. We only were looking at accounting, so make sure that we're in this area here. I'm going to go ahead and put down male accounting average, and then female accounting average. And this is going to give us a little bit of a look into how we're going to be able to set up and find out what the difference in pay is. So if I'm going to go ahead and make this this cell equal to what we found in our pivot table. And so you can shift click on male in order to get this to equal what you have in the pivot table. And so this is now just brought down to here. You can enter it manually, but I find it's a lot easier to work with if I shift click and move around with things. And so then we're going to do percent difference. And so, right, and to find the percent differences, we're going to make sure that we have the right formula in here. And since I've already copied it, ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the difference between the male female and then divide by the larger of the two to find the percent difference. And it should be roughly around 3. So there you go. So it's 0.035%. And we can change that into a percent real quick. I rounded up to 4. If you really wanted to, you could say, all right, I want more decimal points. But regardless, that's around 3%. I'll go ahead and undo that so that you can see it as a decimal. And so this would be something that you would look at as an HR professional and say, all right, so it's 3.5 difference between males and females, and they're doing roughly the same job. This is when you might talk to somebody in legal counsel to make sure that this pay differential is something that's sort of similar to what's going on, or illegal in that sense. And then additionally, something that you might want to look at is that we have bonuses attached to each person. So you might want to do a little bit more research into whether or not this pay differential is more, and then whether or not these bonuses are unjustly done. And then in the next module, we'll talk a little bit more about multiple regression. We can find out some of the things like performance and whether it's related to their bonuses and their salary and all that junk. So, but for now, here's the percent difference that we have. And now you need to find out whether or not in your groups, whether or not this is something that we would follow up on, or is this something you report back to Susie Q about and make sure that you've done your due diligence in. Well, for me, this is okay for the most part. But I really want to show you some more things about the pivot table before I let you get out of here. One of the things that I thought was interesting is that age is something that comes up a lot. And you might want to find out what people are getting paid over a certain age or if there's discrimination based on age. So I'm going to go ahead and put age back into columns. And so it gets ugly here and it has everybody. So we have an 80-year-old male working for us in accounting, but what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click here, the left click here, and then right click, and it will bring up this option here. We'll do group here. And so this is the default setting. So their lowest employee age that we have is 22 and the highest is at 80, and so we can group them up by decades if you want to, and that's one way to do it. But if you want to say, all right, I only want to find out 45 people, or like 22 to 45 and then have 45 over, you can do that as well. But for this right now, we're just going to do it by 10. And so now the pivot table is a little more manageable, so we can find out some more things. So the average salary that we have in accounting from 22 to 31 is an impressive $100,841, which is interesting because some of their age groups like 42 to 51 is significantly less. But because we've randomized the data, don't take too much stock into this. But it would be something that you would look at and say, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. And then this is a quick way to check between pay rates. So the 22 to 31 and the 22 to 31 for the males and females is roughly the same. So that's interesting. You can quickly use this, and it's a way to use a pivot table in order to find out some more data and make that data set itself a little more manageable and presentable to some of your superiors and for yourself to use. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these pivot tables and learning a little more about how to use them in HR. And if there are any other questions, please leave them in the comments below or talk to us, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you for watching, and I am out of here.